Hello, everyone. Good evening. So I want everyone to please go and check out the Recovering Hunbot stream that I just did, because we reacted to Ruja's, I believe it was her very last big speech before she took off. She took off just a few months after doing the speech. So it's very interesting to go and watch her do the last speech. We compared her and the way that she carries herself and talks about her business, which was OneCoin, to how Ash Mufareh of OnPassive carries himself. And we did a bit of a comparison. And some people had some questions. So I thought it would be cool if I just did a quick little summary. I found an amazing article that sums up this woman perfectly. So who was Ruja Ignatova? I have no clue if I'm saying that right. I'm doing my best. She was the cryptocurrency queen. They called her the crypto queen, the woman that came out with OneCoin. So let's just get right into it. Cryptoqueen. This is from BBC News. I'll leave the link down in the comment section below when I am done this. And it is Cryptoqueen, how this woman scammed the world, then vanished. She is missing as of right now. The last sighting was 2017. Ruja Ignatova called herself the Crypto Queen. She told people she had invented a cryptocurrency to rival Bitcoin and persuaded them to invest billions. Then, 2 years ago, which this came out in 2019, so she took off in 2017, she disappeared. Amy Bartlett spent months investigating how she did it for the Missing Crypto Queen podcast and trying to figure out where she's hiding. Please go check out the podcast. Again, the link is on this article. In early June 2016, a 36-year-old businesswoman, so she's the same age at that time as I am right now, called Dr. Ruja Ignatova, walked on stage at Wembley Arena in front of thousands of adoring fans. She was dressed as usual in an expensive ball gown, wearing long diamond earrings and bright red lipstick. And this is the one that we had just reacted to. That's why this is kind of a good article. She told the cheering crowd that OneCoin was on course to become the world's biggest cryptocurrency for everyone to make payments everywhere. And as you can see, this moment, she's talking about OneCoin's growth exploding, which, I mean, I guess it did. It kind of did. 1 million members, right? Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency and is still the biggest and best known, and it still is to this day. Its rise in value from a few cents to hundreds of dollars per coin by mid-2016 had given rise to a frenzy of excitement among investors. Cryptocurrency as an idea was just entering the mainstream. Lots of people were looking to get involved in this strange new opportunity, and nobody knew much information about it or how it worked. This was at the very beginning of cryptocurrency happening in our world, if you will. OneCoin, Dr. Ruja told the Wembley audience, that she was the Bitcoin killer. In 2 years, nobody will speak about Bitcoin anymore, she shouted. All over the world, people were already investing their savings into OneCoin, hoping to be part of this new revolution. Documents leaked to the BBC show that British people spent almost 30 million euros on OneCoin in the first 6 months of 2016, and 2 million of it in a single week. And the rate of investment could have increased after the Wembley extravaganza. And when you go watch that video, that stream, if you haven't yet, you'll see why. Between August 2014 and March 2017, more than 4 billion Binance was invested in dozens of countries, okay? From Pakistan to Brazil, from Hong Kong to Norway, from Canada to Yemen, and then even Palestine. So here we go. Investment in OneCoin from selected countries from January to June 2016. Canada doesn't make it on the list, thankfully. But as you can see, China, a lot, a lot. But there was something very important these investors did not know. And we talked about this a little bit in the stream. To explain this, I need first to explain briefly how a cryptocurrency actually works. This is notoriously difficult. Go online and you'll find hundreds of different descriptions, some of them utterly baffling to the non-specialist. And that's part of the issues. One of the big issues with that industry is that there is no like one way to do it. Everybody has different ways and different descriptions of it all. And I think if everyone could just come up with one description of things, it'd be a lot easier. And then less scams would come. But I don't know, maybe that's me. But this is the first principle to grasp. Money is only valuable because other people think it's valuable. If we all decided that money wasn't valuable, guess what? It wouldn't be anymore. Whether it's Bank of England notes and coins, shells, precious stones, or matchsticks, all of which have historically been used as money. Yeah, stones and matchsticks were once used as money. It only works when everyone trusts it. For a long time, people have tried to create a form of digital money independent of state-backed currencies, but they have always failed because no one could trust them. And maybe no one should trust them. They would always need someone in charge who could manipulate the supply, and forgery was too easy. And it still is. And this is Ruja here. Beautiful woman. Which, let's just be real, pretty people can manipulate a lot easier. The reason so many people are excited by Bitcoin is that it solves that problem. I don't really think it does, but I mean, I guess that could be up for debate. It depends upon a special type of database called a blockchain, which is like a huge book, one that Bitcoin owners have independent but identical copies of. Every time a Bitcoin is sent from me to someone else, a record of that transaction goes into everyone's book. Nobody, not banks, not governments, or the person who invents it, is in charge or can change it. That's very important. There is some very clever math behind all this, but this means that Bitcoins can't be faked, they can't be hacked, and can't be double spent. I tested this explanation on my mother, the family technophobe, and she told me I'd failed to make it clear enough and should start again. So don't worry too much if you don't follow it either. The key point is that these special blockchain databases are what make cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin work. You need to have a blockchain. If you don't have a blockchain, you don't have a cryptocurrency that works. For its fans, this is a revolutionary new form of currency with the potential to sideline the banks and national currencies and provide banking for anyone with a mobile phone. And if you get in early, there's a chance to make a fortune. So here's OneCoin's quarterly revenue from January 2015 when it began to March 2017, which is when it fell off. As you can see, it bounces a little bit, but it did all right. Dr. Ruja's genius was to take all of this and sell the idea to the masses. But there was something wrong, you know? In early October of 2016, 4 months after Dr. Ruja's London appearance, which was the one we watched, a blockchain expert called Bjorn Bjerk was called by a recruitment agency with a curious job offer. A cryptocurrency startup from Bulgaria was looking for a chief technical officer. Bajirk would get an apartment and a car and an attractive annual salary of about 250,000 is that euros or pesos or I'm sorry, dollars in whatever Bulgarian money is. I was thinking, what is my job going to be? What are the things that I'm going to have to do for this company? He recalls. And he said, well, first of all, they need a blockchain. They don't have a blockchain today. This company that's been going for over a year, just, apparently doesn't have a blockchain. Little worrisome. I said, what? You told me it was a cryptocurrency company. The agent replied that this was correct. It was a cryptocurrency company, and it had been running for a while, but it didn't have a blockchain. So we need you to build a blockchain, he went on. What's the name of the company? Asked Bajirk. It's OneCoin. He didn't take the job and left thinking, oh my God, this thing has to be a scam because how is there a cryptocurrency with no blockchain? Right? That just makes no sense. It really doesn't. Jen McAdams' Tycoon package. This is important as well. One spring day a few months earlier, Jen McAdam received a message from a friend about an unmissable investment opportunity. Sitting at her computer, the Glaswegian clicked. I have no clue if I said that wrong. I'm so sorry. Clicked on a link and joined a OneCoin webinar. And this is how it begins, right? Uh, just like Ash Mufareh and OnPassive join webinars. Over the next hour or so, she listened carefully to people talking enthusiastically about this exciting new cryptocurrency, how it can transform her fortunes. All of them were very up-tempo, full of beans, full of passion. She remembers, you are so lucky that you're seeing this webinar right now, she was told. You're in at such an early stage, and it's just going to go like Bitcoin. It's going to go bigger. In other words, you'll be a millionaire. The webinar host talked about Dr. Ruja's glittering background. Here we go. Oxford University, a PhD from Constance, a stint with a respected management consultancy, McKinsey and Company. So that's why she's Dr. Ruja. What's the PhD in? It's just a PhD. Business. A speech Dr. Ruja had given at conference hosted by the Economist magazine was shown, and that's what clinched it for McAdam. That ticket a box, the power of the woman. Well done. I felt proud of her. And that's the thing, is that Ruja was someone where other women could kind of look at and be like, oh my God, look at this, a boss lady. Yeah. Oh, it's law and economics. So she has her master's degree in law and economics from the University of Constance. A little worrisome, eh? When you think about it, law and economics, and then runs a scam. By the time the webinar had finished, she had decided to invest 1,000 euros. It was easy. You purchase OneCoin tokens, and these then generate coins, which went into your account. One day soon, she was told she would be able to turn these coins back into euros or pounds. It seemed like easy money. Maybe 1,000 euros wasn't enough. The promoter said it was the larger packages that were really life-changing. The ones that cost a whole shitload. The smallest package was 140 euros, but they went all the way up to 118,000. So people were putting that much of their money into OneCoin. 1 week later, McAdam bought a Tycoon package for 5,000 euros, which was one of the middle packages, if you will. Before long, she had invested 10,000 euros of her own money and persuaded friends and family to invest $250,000 of theirs. She watched excitedly on the OneCoin website as the value of her coins steadily rose. Before too long, they had passed 100,000 euro, a tenfold return. So, she started planning holidays and shopping trips. Because that's what you do when you make a whole bunch of money. You're like, I'm going on vacation. I'm getting some new clothes. Let's go. Towards the end of the year, Jen McAdam was contacted by a stranger on the internet. He claimed to be a good Samaritan, someone who had studied OneCoin carefully and wanted to speak to people who had invested. Reluctantly, she agreed to a conversation on Skype. It turned out to be a shouting match, but it would send McAdam's life in a new direction. The stranger was Timothy Curry, a Bitcoin enthusiast and cryptocurrency advocate. He thought OneCoin would give cryptocurrencies a bad name, and he told McAdam bluntly that it was a scam. You should probably be familiar with Timothy Curry. Maybe we'll cover him in future. Let me know if you want me to. But yeah, he's one of the top Bitcoin people, and he's actually against the scams in here. So I mean, I can't hate on the guy too much. The biggest scam in the fucking world is what he told her. This is the biggest one. He said he could prove it too. And then she was like, well, then prove it to me. Do it, buddy. Over the next several weeks, Curry sent a stream of information about how cryptocurrencies work, right? This place was all about educating, but I'm pretty sure that Curry sent her more information than what she learned from OneCoin. I'm just saying. He sent her links, articles, YouTube videos. He introduced her to Bjorn Björk, who was the tech guy, the blockchain developer, who was supposed to make the blockchain a year after the company started as a blockchain cryptocurrency company. It took McAdam 3 months to go through it all. So here's the thing, right? When it comes to these companies, it can take 10 minutes for someone to be manipulated into it. It can take years for someone to unbrainwash themselves out of it. And that's why speaking out about all of these is so important. And speaking out about the recovery that we go through when we leave these is so important, because they get quite a hold on you. So, 3 months to go through it all. And she, of course, started to question everything. She started asking the leaders of her OneCoin group if there was a blockchain. Because again, Jordan was like, yo, listen, they were trying to hire me to do a blockchain. I said, no, I don't know if this place has a blockchain. So she's asking people. At first, she was told it was something she didn't need to know. Does that sound familiar? A lot like how Ash is always like, you don't need to know nothing. But when she persisted, she finally got the truth in a voicemail in April of 2017. Okay, Jen, they don't want to disclose that kind of information just in case something goes wrong where the blockchain is being held. And plus, as an application, it doesn't need a server behind it. So it's our blockchain technology, a SQL server with a database. But by this stage, thanks to Curry and Bjork, she knew that a standard SQL server database was no basis for a genuine cryptocurrency. The manager of the database could go in and change it at will. So if you are ever doing cryptocurrency and they tell you that they use this type of database, ask them what kind of server database they use. If they say SQL, run for the hills. Run! Okay? A lot of them use it. A lot of the scams out there, that's what they use because, as it states, they can just go in and change the numbers. And that is how a cryptocurrency scam works. They change the numbers. I thought, what? And literally my legs just went and I fell on the floor. It's a lot to take in when you realize that you just got scammed out of over, $10,000 a year money. And then you helped them scam $250,000 from your family and friends. Just think about that for a minute, and it sucks because she didn't do that wanting to scam them, right? And this is why I say the Huns in these MLMs too, they're not in them wanting to scam people. They think that they're actually doing something good and helping. And then eventually they have to come to the conclusion that, oh my God, we were all just scammed. And not only that, but I helped them get to my family and friends because I believed. I had them believe. It's a lot to take in. Made her faint. The inescapable conclusion was that those rising numbers on the OneCoin website were meaningless, all made up. They were just numbers typed into a computer by a OneCoin employee. Far from putting an end to their financial worries, she and her friends and family had thrown €250,000 away. Again, that's heartbreaking to find out. And again, it hurts because, like I said, she didn't go into this thing wanting to rip people off. She wanted to help people. That person was a good person. I thought she was doing something good for her family. Although Jen McAdam had now seen the light, few other OneCoin investors had, and Curry was trying. Okay, he was reaching out to as many people as he could in it. Dr. Ruja was still traveling the world to sell her vision, hopping from Macau to Dubai. Should be a red flag right there. Whenever you hear companies in Dubai, that's where the scams are. To Singapore, filling out arenas, pulling in new investors. OneCoin was still growing fast, and Dr. Ruja was starting to spend her new fortune. She bought multi-million-dollar properties in the Bulgarian capital, Sofia, and the Black Sea resort of Sozopol. No clue if I said that wrong. I'm so sorry. She bought a bunch of shit, okay? A bunch of properties, a bunch of land, a bunch of resorts, all kinds of stuff, cars. In her downtime, she would throw parties on her luxurious yacht, the Divina. At one, in July of 2017, the American pop star Bebe Rexha performed a private set. This is the Divina. Yep, we had a pop star on that, and that pop star would not have had any clue that this was a scam either, by the way. Don't go at her. Despite a successful facade, trouble was brewing. The opening of a long-promised exchange that would allow OneCoin to be turned into cash kept being delayed, and investors were growing more and more concerned, as they should have been. I think they're allowed to. This was to be resolved at a large gathering of European OneCoin promoters in Lisbon, Portugal, on October 2017. And the big speech we watched of hers was on June 11th, 2017. 2016. Anyway, not long after that, this was supposed to happen. But, of course, when the day came in October 2017, Dr. Ruja just didn't show up someone who was always on time, especially for these events because they're hers. She was on her way. Nobody knew why she wasn't there, recalls one delegate. Frantic calls and messages went unanswered. The head office in Sofia, where she was such an imposing presence, didn't know a damn thing and no clue where she was. Dr. Ruja had vanished. Some feared she'd been killed or kidnapped by the banks, who they've been told had most to fear from the cryptocurrency revolution. There's a big thing about that where a bunch of them that very strongly believe that, the Rockefellers were going to come get them or some crap. Like, it sounded like a movie. They were like, oh my God, the bank people came and got her. And they kidnapped her and murdered her so that OneCoin couldn't take over the money of the world. It was very strange. I was like, I don't think that's it, but whatever. In fact, she had gone underground. FBI records presented in court documents earlier this year, 2019, indicate that on the 25th of October 2017, just 2 weeks after her Lisbon no-show, she boarded a Ryanair flight from Sofia to Athens and then went completely off radar. That was the last time anyone saw or heard from Dr. Ruja, and still is to this day. Solana brought up people to talk about how she might have gone and gotten face reconstructive surgery. You have to think this woman ran off with at least $20 million in her own pocket. She can do anything she freaking wants. But yeah, she has not been spotted since October 25th of 2017. MLM's most successful products. Igor Alberts is wearing black and gold everything. Black and gold shoes, black and gold pleated suit, black and gold shirt, black and gold sunglasses, and he has a thick black and gold ring on. And every item of clothing is Dolce & Gabbana. When you look at my clothes, they are disciplined, he says. His wife, Andrea Simbala, nods along, adding that if he wakes up and puts on pink underwear, he sticks to pink as he chooses his shirt, trousers, and jacket. So I guess we should assume that he also wears black and gold underwear, I guess. Yay! I think this is... Hold on. Here we go. I'm not going to get into Igor's whole background, guys. Let's just say he has a very extensive history of trying MLMs and whatnot. So we're just going to skip to this part. Again, if you want to go back and read the whole thing, you can. We just want the OneCoin important stuff, though. In May 2015, already a very successful MLM seller, Igor Alberts was invited to a OneCoin event in Dubai. Now, this is one of those people who, like Alonda said, Raja would kind of want on her team. Someone that already is a very successful MLM seller and recruiter. I forgot to put that in there. Someone that already has a giant MLM team under them, and then they can go from wherever company they're in over to OneCoin and then probably bring their team with them. And then their team would also be full of recruiters too if they were successful, right? And that's kind of how OneCoin grew, was because they would try to find people like that. So he was invited to a OneCoin event in Dubai, where he met lots of people, all apparently making fortunes with this new currency. Dr. Ruja herself made a powerful impression too, with her princess dresses. She's known for coming out in ball gowns every time, fancy earrings, makeup done to the nines, hair done to the nines, right? Again, go check out the stream we did if you need to see. She's dressed to impress. And her vision of a financial revolution, which I guess you could call this a vision of financial revolution. Either call it that or a scam. Igor returned with a new mission and gave new instructions to all the salespeople in his downline. Stop whatever you're doing and come with me to start selling OneCoin. See, take your team. We made in our first month almost $90,000 out of nothing. Because he took his whole team over there, right? And then they would have taken all their teams. So people under him would have also had teams. And that's how these things kind of jump up. And that's what we think is also happening with OnPassive. There's some people that came from like GDI and other MLMs, and they could have brought in several people from their team, which is how they have like 200 people under them and whatnot, 2,000 or whatever else. Dr. Ruja's genius was to recognize that established MLM sellers with huge downlines were the perfect vehicle to market her fake coin. Yes, fake coin. A plan the FBI says she privately referred to as the bitch of Wall Street meets MLM. She was proud of it. This was the secret of OneCoin's success, as I've been saying. It wasn't just a fake cryptocurrency. It was an old-fashioned pyramid scheme with the fake coin as its product. No wonder it spread like wildfire. And that's the thing. MLMs, unfortunately, spread like wildfire. Just take off. Remember, okay, because this girl is on fire. You know, that's the song they played when she walked. Anyway. Fairly soon, Igor Alberts was making more than 1 million euros a month from OneCoin, which quickly became the biggest product in network marketing. No other company even came close. 60% of the income Igor Alberts and Andrea Cimbala made from OneCoin in the end, more than 2 million per month, was paid in cash. The rest in OneCoin. But they used some of this cash to buy more OneCoin. They, like almost everyone else involved, were convinced they were earning a fortune. You're always told to put a portion of what you make back into your business. And remember, this is like an MLM, so it's your business. I did the calculation how many coins we needed to become the richest person on the planet. I said to Andrea, we need to build it up to 100 million coins, because when this coin goes to 100 euros and we have 100 million, we are richer than Bill Gates. It's mathematic. It's as easy as that. There they are here. The nature of MLM networks, where people often recruit others who are close to them, creates a blurred sense of responsibility. Blame is not easy to apportion. And if sellers have invested their own money, they are victims too. You are a victim of a scam, of an MLM, of a cult. I don't know why I have so many people that are like, you can't play victim when you leave cults and you leave MLM cults. And then you're not a victim when you leave a cult. I'm like, yeah, actually, yeah, unfortunately you are. And then when you get out, you get some treatment, then you're a survivor of it. That's how it works. I don't know what other name to give people other than a victim of a scam or a victim of a cult. Okay. Because that's what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to change the word around just because people want to be like, don't play victim online. It's not going to happen. That's what it is. If that bothers you, then maybe ask yourself why. Why does that bother you? Because I'm someone that's been abused my whole life. I have CPTSD, and I have no problem with people calling themselves victims that were scammed or in pyramid schemes or in cults. So, check yourself. After Dr. Ruja's non-appearance in Lisbon, okay, a point came when Igor Alberts, like Jen McAdam, asked to see evidence of the blockchain. He didn't get it, and in December of 2017, he quit, which I'm very happy for. I'm glad that he got out. I asked if he felt guilty for having sold so many people a coin that didn't exist and for having made so much money in the process. I felt responsibility, not guilt, he replies. You can never be blamed for believing in something. I had no clue that it could be false. I didn't even know what is a blockchain. What doubt can I have? And that's the thing, is a lot of the people that get into these things, that's what it is, right? Like, they believe in it. So those in OnPassive, most of them, they just really believe in Ash and his technology, right? They don't know that it's a scam. Intent matters to me. So if you're not selling with the intent to scam people, then that matters. There's a difference between knowing that it's a scam and giving it to people and not knowing it's a scam and thinking you're helping people and then all of you finding out it's a scam. There's a difference. He points out that he spent millions buying OneCoin, possibly more than anyone else. I wouldn't be surprised. By contrast, Jen McAdams says she bears a heavy burden of guilt. I asked her how much she earned from selling OneCoin, and she says it was 3,000 to 1,800 of euros, of which she received in cash and which she used to buy more OneCoin. She feels guilty towards those who she introduced to OneCoin, she says, but also towards her late father, a miner who worked hard all his life in horrible conditions and left her the money that she then gave away. That's actually really heartbreaking to me. Like, her father was a miner, mining real gold, probably left her a bunch of money, and then she ended up putting it into OneCoin. It's hard to know how much money has been put into OneCoin. Documents leaked to the BBC say 4 billion between August 2014 and March of 2017. I've also been told by more than one person that it could be as much as 15 billion. It's really hard to tell when it's a faked blockchain. There's a famous saying in journalism, follow the money. So with Georgia Cat, producer of the Missing Cryptoqueen podcast, I went to see Oliver Below. Sorry, I'm probably saying that wrong. An expert on what he calls Moneyland, the shadowy parallel world where criminals and the super rich hide their wealth. The problem, he explains, is that following the money isn't as easy as it sounds because criminals structure their companies and bank accounts in such a way that their assets seem to just poof disappear. They still exist, he says, in his garden near the village of Hay-on-Wye. You can still use them to buy things. You can still use them to buy political influence and nice houses and yachts. But when it comes to someone trying to find them, whether that's a journalist or a police officer or the IRS, they're invisible. So here we have the OneCoin page. It says OneCoin cryptocurrency is unique, safe, global, and with no risk or inflation. Cryptocurrency is based on cryptography that guarantees its security and makes it difficult to counterfeit, which is crazy ironic coming from the cryptocurrency company that was all counterfeit. Saying, it's no surprise then that OneCoin's corporate structure is incredibly complicated. Here's an example. Ruja bought a very large property in central Sofia. Technically, it was owned by a company called One Property. One Property was owned by another company called Risk Limited. What a name, huh? Risk Limited was owned by Ruja, but was then transferred to some unnamed Panamanians. But it was still managed by another company called Paragon. And Paragon was owned by another company called Artifix, which was owned by Ruja's mother, Veska. And then in 2017, the ownership of Artifix was sold to an unknown man in his 20s. So as you can see, it's hard to follow that. That's what they do. And it takes nothing to open up an LLC. You just pay a little bit of money, get a business contract, boom. So that's what they do. Oliver describes this kind of dizzying arrangement as improbably standard. Yeah, they all do it. For several months, a French journalist called Maxime Grimbert tried to unpick OneCoin's corporate workings, collecting as many company names and bank account details as he could. I show his results to Bolo, who immediately notices how many British companies there are. British companies are the companies of choice, he comments. They're very easy to set up, and they look legal, right? Everything looks good with them. They're easy to set up. Yeah, a real miner, exactly. Somebody that actually mined for real, not just Bitcoin mining. So sad. He takes the first one on the list and looks it up on the company's house website. Everything is meant to be transparent, they claim. They claimed it several times during the speech. Their website contains the details of every company in the UK. It's thought to be a key anti-corruption tool. We are very proud of this in the country, he says. So basically, they have this. But when you create a company, no one checks any of the information provided. So when you click on the filing history, you should see company accounts, but there's nothing. This is classic, he exclaims. Look, nothing has happened. They have filed no financial information at all. Then he tries checking the company's owners. The UK began to insist recently that companies must enter the name of the person with significant control, the real owner. This is supposed to mean that you can no longer use a British company to hide behind, right? So basically, they found out that people were doing this because, like I said, you can just go there, pay a fee, make an LLC, like nothing. So then they put this system in place so that you would at least have to sign up with your business if you had one there, with hopes that then it would be traceable, right? Oh, hey, presto, they haven't filed a person with significant control. That's illegal. That is an anonymous shell company, as anonymous as anything that you can buy anywhere in the Seychelles or Nevis or the Marshall Islands or Venue. I'm going to butcher that. So much for following the money. In an interconnected global economy, assets can simply vanish and you end up chasing shadows. Now, this part's important as well. When you're dealing with a scam worth billions of euros, it's not unusual for shadowy groups to get involved. Several of the people Georgia and I interviewed spoke darkly about mysterious people and connections they didn't want to name. When you talk about the amount of money that's been put into OneCoin, of course, there's people out there who are pissed off and would do anything to shut anyone like me up, says Bjorn, the blockchain expert who discovered there was no blockchain and started talking about it publicly. Which, by the way, good for him. I'm so glad that he did that. He tells me he's received death threats as a result of speaking out. I wouldn't be surprised. You have to think a lot of people put their money in this and then have somebody come out and say this is a scam. They don't even have a blockchain. People that still believe in this heavily would be very upset. If I knew what I would have to go through, I would have never blown the whistle. I would have just turned my back and walked away, he says. But we are so glad that you didn't. When I asked him who might be behind the threats, he won't elaborate. I can't discuss that. It starts to get very, 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 very scary, very, 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 very fast. According to Berserk, Dr. Ruja never expected OneCoin to grow so big. People involved at the early stages have told him it was never supposed to be $1 billion scam. You know, just a small scam. We just wanted to scam them a little bit, guys. She tried to close it down, he says, but the dark forces wouldn't let her. Once OneCoin was running above 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, something happened where she was unable to stop it. I think she was so scared of the fall of 2017 that she decided to skip. I worry about that with OnPassive, right? Igor Alberts, the MLM seller, also talks about the involvement of very influential people in government even. When I ask for more detail, he replies, no, I cannot tell that because I don't want to take that risk with our lives. And that's the thing is, yeah. This is Konstantin Ignatov. Whatever. The brother. Her brother. It's not clear who Bjorn and Igor are talking about or whether they are even talking about the same people, but the U.S. Department of Justice claims to have evidence of a link between Dr. Ruja's brother, Konstantin, who took over the running of OneCoin when Ruja disappeared, and significant players in Eastern European organized crime. Inside the family. On the 6th of March 2019, Konstantin was at Los Angeles International Airport, waiting to fly back to Bulgaria after some OneCoin meetings in the US. Just as he was boarding his flight home, he was pounced on by FBI agents, arrested, and charged with fraud in connection with OneCoin. Around the same time, the US authorities charged Dr. Ruja in absentia for wire fraud, security fraud, and money laundering. What that means is they have not caught her, they have not brought her in, but there is a warrant out for her for wire fraud, security fraud, and money laundering. Amazingly, even after this, OneCoin continued to function and people continued to invest in it, and they still are to this day. I don't know why, but they are. This is why I get so mad when people are like, you don't need to speak out about these companies. People know not to join them. I'm like, okay, well, these people here have people that ran it going to jail with warrants out, and there's still people joining on. So what do you mean? What do you mean? When Georgia and I visited Sofia a month later, Dr. Ruja's personal mansion appeared to be locked up and empty. But the OneCoin office gave every appearance of being a busy workplace. And there's that office, you know? Join the financial boom. Why have so many people continue to believe in OneCoin despite all the evidence? Good question. Investors often told us that what drew them in initially was their fear that they would miss out on the next big thing. They'd read with envy the stories of people striking gold with Bitcoin and thought OneCoin was a second chance. So basically anyone that like missed out on Bitcoin but wanted to get in on it were like, yay, OneCoin, yeah, let's do that. Many were struck by the personality and persuasiveness of the visionary Dr. Ruja. She signed up the most people probably because of that. Investors might not have understood the technology, but they could see her talking to huge audiences. Or at the Economist conference, they were showing photographs of her numerous degrees and copies of Forbes magazine with her portrait on the front cover, which, again, Forbes and I keep beefing about this because they keep on putting these MLM scammers up on their freaking cover pages. I want them to look into things more before they put someone like Ruja on a cover page. Just saying. The degrees are genuine. The Forbes cover isn't. It was actually an inside cover, a paid-for advertisement from Forbes Bulgaria. But once the real cover was ripped off, it looked impressive. So they edited it. Yay! But Forbes does put a lot of fucking MLM people on there, okay? And we are still beefing. But it seems it's not just the promise of riches that keeps people believing. After Jen McAdam invested into OneCoin, she was constantly told she was part of the OneCoin family. And this is what we're talking about when we talk about MLM cults, right? And commercial cults. These things are commercial cults because this part. She was entered into a WhatsApp group with its own leader who disseminated information from the headquarters in Sofia. The McAdams leader prepared her carefully for conversation with OneCoin skeptics. You're told not to believe anything from the outside world. So like information control. That's what they call it. Haters. Bitcoiners are haters. Even Google. Don't listen to Google. Okay. Any criticism or awkward questions were actively discouraged. If you have any negativity, you should not be in this group, she was told. Sound familiar? Like OnPassive? Also, like all of the MLFs, by the way, like this is what I mean. This is where it goes from just being a business opportunity to being a cult. When they start to control the information that you see. When they start to really emotionally manipulate you by making you feel like you're a part of their family. right? When they start to isolate you from the outside world because anyone who speaks out about it is a hater, that kind of thing. They start to change your way of thinking so that you're constantly positive about the business and don't even question it. And you can be brainwashed into just going along with it without questioning. Professor Eileen Barker of the London School of Economics, who spent years studying groups like the Moonies and Scientologists, says there are similarities between OneCoin and all of these cults. Exactly. People believe they are part of something big that is going to change the world. And no matter what the evidence, what once they've signed up, it's very hard for them to admit they are wrong, which again is why so many of us have to sit here, okay, and do that publicly. I know a lot of people are like, why would you ever come on YouTube and then tell everyone that you are a part of scams and admit to being wrong? Because of this. Because once people sign up, it's hard to admit. So the more people that do it and do it publicly and do it openly and aren't scared to talk about these things, the better chance we have of getting people out, because that is the number one thing that keeps them in, is not wanting to come out here and be like, shit, I was scammed. So we have to end that stigma. We have to end the stigma that, you know, people that are in these things are all scammers and all that, so that more people can leave. And until we fully do that, people will always be scared to leave these cults. It's very important that as many people as humanly possible that are in things like this come out here and do this and admit it without embarrassment and hopefully without much public scrutiny. Which is why our community has to be careful how they talk about Huns. I'm just saying. When prophecy fails, they believe more strongly, she says, particularly if you have invested something, not only money, but belief, reputation, intelligence. People invest their whole lives into this. They give it all of their time, all of their energy, all of their money. They put their reputation on the line. And then, yeah, you start to wonder, like, when you find out you're being scammed, you're like, Jesus Christ, am I the dumbest fucking person in the world? But no, it happens to a lot of people. You think, wait a bit longer. Or if you have a good scam that's taken you, they'll keep telling you to wait a bit longer. And they'll tell you that if you want to quit now, you might just not be into it enough. As they did with me with It Works and Sensi, by the way. Money might push people to invest in the first place, but the sense of belonging, of doing something, of achieving something, is why they stay. And in that sense, it's cultic. In an ideal world, regulators would take action to protect consumers from scams like OneCoin. We are trying. But the authorities all over the world have been slow to react, partly because the whole area of cryptocurrency is relatively new. We are trying. I promise. I promise Alonda at every single MLM conference is trying to get them to talk about cryptocurrency. I promise you. For like the last couple of years, it has to be talked about a lot. It is the biggest scam going right now, especially in MLMs. The UK's Financial Conduct Authority, FCA, which is responsible for regulating financial markets in the UK, issued a warning on its website only in September 2016 because it takes a little while, right? We believe consumers should be wary of dealing with OneCoin, it said. We are concerned about the potential risk this poses to UK consumers. And then OneCoin would have switched that as, oh, they're just scared that we're going to take over all the bank money. So that's why they're doing that. Da 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 da. Right? And do you see how people kind of get stuck thinking, oh, well, that's haters or whatever? Less than a year later, the warning was removed from the website. The FCA said it had been up for long enough. But OneCoin promoters presented this as proof that the UK authorities considered OneCoin a legitimate investment. In other words, I wish that they had never taken that down, because that actually helped them rip more people off, because they were like, see, they took it down because they know we're good. We're legit. There's the answer right from the horse's mouth. It's official, said one promoter from Alberta, Canada. Canada. In a video posted online, if they still thought we were a fraudulent company, then guess what? The warning's not removed. Game over. And again, all of the MLM companies do this whenever they get a letter from like the FTC or the FDA about illegal income or health claims or whatever else. And they fix the problem. It just gives in. They just use it to manipulate more. So this is why this is always an uphill, weird battle. Several OneCoin events took place in the UK after the FCA took down the warning and money continued to be invested. The FCA did not respond to the BBC's request to comment, and I hope they're doing a better job of this stuff now. The fact that OneCoin was operating internationally also created difficulties for the authorities because everyone in every single jurisdiction, there would have to be at least one victim that reported it as a scam, probably several. And that's the issue. And that's why, again, more people need to speak out. In August this year, 2019, the City of London police ended a 2-year investigation into OneCoin. The companies and individuals behind OneCoin are based outside UK jurisdiction, it said. We've been unable to identify UK-based assets which can be used to compensate UK investors. Unfortunately, such explanations don't offer much comfort to those affected. I'm devastated for all the UK victims, Jen McAdam told me when she heard the news. She now runs WhatsApp support groups for OneCoin investors who realize they have been swindled. Good for her, man. Where's the support? Where's the help? More folk are going to promote this. It's a green light for the OneCoin scammers to continue and extort more money from innocent people in the UK, and nothing has been done about it. They don't care. So I really do hope she's still running all those groups too. The City of London police told the BBC there was insufficient evidence to support criminal proceedings against individuals based in the UK, though the force has never specified that there had been no concerns surrounding OneCoin. The force has provided assistance to foreign law enforcement partners in respect of their investigations concerning OneCoin personnel and will continue to do this. If you believe you have been a victim of fraud in relation to OneCoin or you suspect someone of actively marketing OneCoin, please come forward and report it to Action Fraud Online. Until this week, however, the OneCoin head office remained open for business and people were continuing to promote the currency. And then today, doors are locked, no lights visible through the windows. And that was on November 20th of 2019. This is Daniel. I'm not going to go through Daniel's story because Daniel is actually a really cool dude that's on YouTube, and he's going to actually be on the Recovering Hunbot's channel where he's going to tell his story. So I'm going to skip over that. I think that he should tell his own story, and Alonda's going to be interviewing him, and you'll all want to hear it like that way instead of me sitting here reading this boring ass article where you don't even get a feel for who he is. But he's a really cool dude, and I'm really glad that he's one of the people that are speaking out against this and continues to, and like it's going to be interviewing with Alonda soon. That's awesome. So where are you, Dr. Ruja? Bora Bora? Hawaii? Spain? Fucking Timbuktu? When we started planning the Missing Cryptocurrency podcast in late 2018, no one really had a clue what happened to Dr. Ruja after her disappearance. It was only earlier this year that the U.S. authorities revealed she'd flown to Athens on the 25th of October of 2017. And even then, the question remained, where did this bitch go? Where in the world is Ruja Ignatova? Can't say that name. There were rumors, of course, lots of them. Igor Alberts, the MLM kingpin, said he'd heard she has Russian and Ukrainian passports and travels back and forth between Russia and Dubai, which is kind of why I brought up, like, if she's in Dubai, they wouldn't extradite her when we were doing the stream. Something tells me she's probably around Dubai. It's also been suggested that there are powerful people who might protect her in her native of Bulgaria, which probably. I honestly think she's either in Dubai or Bulgaria. And that she could hide in plain sight because of plastic surgery that makes her unrecognizable. talked about that a bit. I've even heard that she might be in London. Others told us she was dead, which also remains a possibility. This is clearly a question for a professional, which is why Georgia and I went to see private investigator Alan McLean. Finding people is his specialty, and there is one thing above all he says we should focus on. What was her lifestyle? That's the most important thing of all. Go back to her life before OneCoin. Find out who her friends were, what her lifestyle was like, and her family. Another tip he gave us is to find out where she has been on her yacht. We should try to get the tracker off it, he says, and he doesn't appear to be joking. I explain that this is probably beyond my abilities, apart from being illegal. Then he says I should check what yachts were brought in Athens around the time she arrived there from Sofia. I mean, yeah. In my opinion, for what it's worth, she's moving around the Mediterranean, he says. A few weeks after our meeting, Alan gets back in touch with some amazing information. His colleagues, who are also private investigators, visited top-end restaurants in Athens armed with photos of Ruja. And in one of them, several waiters claim to clearly remember her dining there earlier this year. Excuse me. When Georgia and I called them ourselves to check, they confirmed it. So it seems Ruja is still alive and is able to visit a European capital without fearing arrest. All right. So they saw her in Athens earlier in 2019 at a restaurant. Of course, that doesn't mean that she's still in Athens. When you have a yacht and you have all that money, it's not hard to travel around, right? Another lead comes our way when we pay a visit to bizarre OneCoin beauty pageant in Bucharest. So sorry, I'm butchering that. It's as glitzy as you would expect. Men are drinking champagne from the bottle. Ew. Everyone is eyeing us in a way that makes us feel very uncomfortable. We soak up the atmosphere, cheer the British contestant, and then leave. But later we hear that we might have been in the presence of Dr. Ruja. That she was there in the same room, right in front of our noses, except now with plastic surgery, a little harder to spot. Do you guys think that that's true? Do you think she was there with plastic surgery? From either Greece or Romania, Dr. Ruja could be extradited to the US. If it's true, she was in these countries earlier this year, she probably has a fake identity. I highly doubt that she's still known as Dr. Ruja. Taking seriously Alan McLean's advice about studying Dr. Ruja's life before OneCoin, Georgia and I turned to the internet, which fortunately never forgets. Even the most obscure entry or innocuous comment on a forum is usually saved somewhere, and with enough digging can be found. You've heard of Google. Yeah, people find my stuff from like when I was a kid. But there are several other search engines that specialize in this. So we start unearthing previous addresses, known friends, old phone numbers, anything that could help us. Don't use Google. They suck for that. We all use DuckDuckGo or something. We already knew that Dr. Ruja spent some of her childhood in Schramberg, southern Germany. We have also visited the town of Waltenhofen in Bavaria, not far away, where she and her father bought a steelworks around a decade ago, an episode that led to her being tried for fraud. She received a fine and a suspended sentence in October of 2016. So see, she really doesn't want to go down again for it. Well, in Waltenhofen, we learned that she had a German husband, a lawyer for the well-known firm Linklaters. But we were still surprised when during our internet searches, Frankfurt started appearing over and over again. It wasn't a place we previously thought of looking. There were several old addresses in the Frankfurt area, one she'd posted in forums many years ago, or were associated somehow with old phone numbers of hers. Then we started looking at some old photos of Ruja and spotted one friend who appeared with her all the way back to 2011. And that friend was visiting the richest neighborhood in Frankfurt in summer of 2019. From a tiny fragment of a poster advising a tennis tournament, an expert identified the park in which one photograph was taken. We also learned that Dr. Ruja had a daughter in late 2016 and that she remained very close to her. The daughter, we were informed, might be in Frankfurt. This is also where Dr. Ruja's husband, or perhaps ex-husband, lives and works. Armed with a microphone and several photographs of Dr. Ruja, we headed off to Frankfurt and searched old addresses and gated neighborhoods said to be the most expensive in Germany. A couple of people looked at the photographs and paused for a long time, raising our hopes, but then said they didn't recognize her. A postman thought he recognized the name, but couldn't be sure. We called the lawyer who is, or was, married to her, and he didn't want to talk. Do we get close to her? Could she really be hiding out in the heart of the EU? We don't know. Frankfurt probably isn't the only place she goes. It might be one of several places, I'm assuming it is, including perhaps Dubai and Russia. Then a few days later, we received a call from a trusted source we cannot identify. He told us we were right. Frankfurt is indeed where she spends much of her time. But we need to keep going. We needed to find the house. You will find her, he said. You must dig deeper. She would have known that we were looking for her, he added, and she would have laughed at us. On the 5th of November, 2019, the day after the final episode of the Missing Cryptoqueen podcast was released, Dr. Ruja's brother, Konstantin Ignatov, appeared in court in New York, testifying for the government in a case against a lawyer accused of laundering $400 million of the money OneCoin made in the US. In court, it was revealed that Ignatov signed a plea deal on the 4th of October in which he pleaded guilty to several fraud charges. A court reporter was there to hear his testimony, and according to his account of the proceedings, Konstantin appears to have implied that his sister had duped him with the same line the organization put out to its investors, that OneCoin critics were haters who could not be believed. It's possible that Dr. Ruja could have been the only one that really truly knew that the blockchain was fake, but I doubt it. She vanished, he said, because she was afraid that somebody close to her was going to give her up to the FBI. She had got a hold of a big passport, he said, and asked him to get her plane tickets to Vienna, then Athens. OneCoin has always denied wrongdoing. Still does to this day. It told the BBC OneCoin verifiably fulfills all criteria of the definition of cryptocurrency, which has never actually been fully defined, by the way. It said the Missing Cryptoqueen podcast will not present any truthful information and cannot be considered objective nor unbiased. I beg to differ. It added that the allegations made about it around the world were being challenged, stating, our partners, our customers, and our lawyers are fighting successfully against this action around the globe, and we are sure that the vision of a new system on the basis of financial revolution will be established. Some action at the OneCoin headquarters at last. Doors opened, a small beaten-down van parked in front, and was filled with various office equipment and supplies. Didn't seem to be the contents of the famous third-floor cash room. Looked as if the company is moving out, but who knows? That was November 21st of 2019. At very early in the morning, 7:40 a.m., apparently. OneCoin was a familiar scam with a digital twist, a new and hugely successful take on the old pyramid scheme. But to me, it symbolizes something else too. Me too. It represents the dark side of rapid technological change. The way that every new technology creates amazing new opportunities and possibilities for people who understand it, but also the chance to exploit the people who don't. And here is that this girl is on fire. fire. This girl is on fire. Sorry. Yeah, she walked out on stage during her last big speech, which now we have confirmed that this was her last big speech, to the song This Girl Is on Fire. And now she's on vacation and has been for years. Dr. Ruja identified several of society's weak spots and exploited them, as most con artists do. She knew there would be enough people either desperate enough or greedy enough or confused enough, or all of the above, by the way, to take a bet on OneCoin. And again, I just want to bring up too, Bitcoin had just started and just taken off. A lot of people had just made money with Bitcoin. So again, she very much piggybacked off of the idea of people being like, oh my God, I missed out on Bitcoin. And then she shows up with OneCoin. So she did get a lot of the people that thought they had missed out on the big Bitcoin boom to come over and join OneCoin, hoping to get that initial big boom like you do when you start something like this, right? She understood that truth and lies are getting harder to tell apart when there is so much contradictory information online. And this is why I say I really wish that this field here, like this whole cryptocurrency thing, that they would all do the same information, because then it would be a lot easier, right, for us to speak out about scams. She spotted that society's defense against OneCoin, the lawmakers, the police, and also us in the media would struggle to understand what was happening. And most frustratingly of all, she correctly guessed that by the time we realized it, she'd be gone along with the money. And she is still gone. She is still gone. Hello, Keith. Good to see you. Beth, do you really think that once OP starts to really fold, that Ash will stay in Dubai or head to South America somewhere? I personally think, just personally believe that he will probably go to Dubai. I think he might already be taking up headquarters there, which is why everything's moving there right now. But, I mean, he could surprise us. He could surprise us, you know? Could surprise us. So, that is who Ruja is. I was going to say was, but I do think she's still alive. I have reason to believe that she's either in Dubai herself or she's in Frankfurt, like they said. Her ex-husband and her daughter are there. So I believe personally that if she's not close to there, she would be somewhere where it would be very easy for her to get to Frankfurt, to be close to her daughter and be close to her husband or ex-husband. I guess we don't really know. He won't talk, which he doesn't have to. Even if she gets arrested and taken into court, he can plead the fifth, be like, no, sorry, I'm not talking as a spouse. I don't need to. So they probably are still married just so that she can keep that. But that is basically brings us to today, where it is June 29th of 2022. This woman is still missing. They are still looking for her. They've been charging people from OneCoin like crazy for this scam. But unfortunately, it's still going. So there are still people out there that are investing in this thing, even though Ruja took off. Constantine's in jail, and a bunch of other people have all gone to jail over this thing too. A whole bunch. So I just thought it would be fun if after I did the stream with Alonda, which again, please make sure that you go and check it out. I have left the link in the top of this comment section and also in the description to the stream that we just did, where we watch Ruja's last big performance, the Girl Is on Fire one. You know, it's quite interesting to see how she carries herself and how confident she was. And I'm thinking that even at the time of that speech, she knew that this thing was about to go down, because that was about not even a year before this thing went down. By then, I think she would have started to realize, and by then, as the article stated, this thing got way too big for even her. So when she did that speech, I believe that she even knew that this thing had gotten way too big for her. It was too big of a scam. And I personally think she was already planning to exit. And you can see how much she has no problem lying, no problem standing up in front of a million people and just spewing bullshit and lies and trying to get them to all join on to this cryptocurrency. It's actually like really uncanny to watch. It's hilarious. I was power laughing because she talks about the blockchain a lot. There was never a blockchain, or at least a real one. If they ever did get a tech guy to make one, it was all fake. So that's kind of funny. You can go and watch that stream, have a good laugh, see who she was as a person, and then hopefully this summed it up for you, gave you a little refresh in case you forgot. Alana has covered this extensively. Alana came across OneCoin around the same time that I did because I was actually covering Organo Gold and Tom Brooks from 90 Day Fiancé being in Organo Gold. And if you don't know, a lot of the people in OneCoin are also connected to Organo Gold. So I ended up across all of them and I started to research it and I was like, oh my God, this is so much. And right around the time I was going, oh my God, my brain's going to explode. I don't even know if I can take on everything I'm already doing and this at the same time. Alondra wrote me and went, hey, I'm doing a deep dive on OneCoin. Did you know that they're connected to the Organo Gold company that you're talking about right now? And I was like, oh my God, yes. Yes, I do. And can you do it instead? My head hurts. So this will probably be the only real OneCoin coverage I'm going to do. Please go and watch the Recovering Hunbot. She looked into everybody extensively and the whole company and everything that happened with it. I just wanted to give a quick little summary of kind of Dr. Ruja here and what happened, especially with her. Also, like I said, Alana's going to be interviewing Daniel, the article that we skipped through when I was just going through this, because we're not going to read Daniel's stuff and then she's going to do an interview. No. So please do tune in for that. That will be a really, really neat interview that she'll be doing. It'll be so interesting to hear him speaking about it with her. I cannot wait for it. I'm like super pumped for them to do this together. I think it will be fabulous. And it will give you a really good idea of what it was like to be a victim of this scam, because Daniel has quite the story. He comes from a place that isn't as well off as a lot of us and can really speak to what it's like to come from somewhere like that and not have the proper resources and be scammed. And I think it's an important story to hear also because, again, OnPassive and the people that they prey on, and it's very similar, very similar. So that's all I have for you tonight. I'm going to go take my ass to bed because it's about that time for me. I hope that this was a really good sum up for you. I wanted to be as quick as possible. Just give a quick little sum up on who she was. She is still missing. So I don't know. If you see her, call the FBI. I highly doubt anyone watching my channel is going to see her, but you never know. I don't know. Okay, if you're near Frankfurt, she could be there. Keep an eye out. All right. She could be visiting her baby daddy / ex-husband / husband, not sure, and her kid. At least she'd be going there sometimes, in my belief. So I think the cops should probably just park outside of there and wait for her to eventually. Anyway, maybe they don't have the resources, and that's another issue that we always come across. So guys, please do give this a like. Subscribe if you're new here. I'd love it if you join our fabulous, amazing members. All of the beautiful people do. And even though this Ruja bitch may be a good-looking bitch, she has an ugly heart because she ripped off a lot of people for anywhere from 4 to 15 billion euros in just the UK alone. So that's a lot of fucking money, okay? We're talking billions. And no matter where you are, what you're doing, I hope that you all have a fabulous, fabulous night. I am going to be releasing a reaction to the Joy Reigns Love Has Won 5D full disclosure cult videos tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. That should be fun. And have a great night. Bye! Please don't join OneCoin. Okay, listen, people are still joining this thing. Just don't. Don't do it. It's a scam. The people are in jail. Stop it.